Hey everybody, it's Aaron from Corlane Sporting Goods, and we have a new podcast, Hunt Hard, Talk Free. This one's brought to you by ballistics.ca. Check it out. Canada's online turret store. Today, we've got Chris Eyre with us and Robbie Austin. You probably recognize Robbie from our third podcast? Third podcast. And he had just a phenomenal grizzly attack story to tell. And Chris was the gentleman that was with him on the hunt.
Yeah.
And talking to Robbie after we did the podcast, he said that your story's a little different than his. You remembered some things a little different than he did, and I think it'd be kind of cool to get into hearing your side of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Told it a lot of times, so yeah, for sure.
I bet comes up in conversation a bit when a guy's out, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of crazy stuff, like, how'd you get those scars? And then you tell them, and they're like, no, seriously. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah?
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And so when people first meet you, is it fairly visible? Because, I mean, quick glance here, I'm not picking up.
Well, I have, like a big scar across my head, which is kind of there. But a lot of the stuff, like, with my plastic surgeon that, patched me up and stuff, it's not there. And I've got some good scars along my arm, but they're slowly fading with time and stuff like that, for sure.
No way.
We're on 4 years
Yeah.
now, something like that. So 4 years ago, so scars are healing for sure. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do the memories stay as crisp?
Some things.
Yeah.
Some things, yeah. I would say there are some things that like fade a little bit, and but some things are. I think I tell the story so often that I basically have almost like the same story, right? So it's pretty consistent. Yeah.
You betcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat.
So to rewind the clock,
Yeah.
back before that hunt,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about yourself. First off, I heard that you're tied in with the ambulance service,
Ambulance service, yeah.
and that's a full-time gig.
Yeah, it is now. I did 8 years up here in Fort St. John.
Yeah.
And that was like my first posting was in Fort St. John, and most people come and go because they don't really like the north. But I came up here with my wife, and she got a teaching job, and they were so desperate for people that I kind of walked into Fort St. John. And it was all right because I knew this guy already. So, so I kind of sort of became a bit of a northerner for a little while. And,
How did the north treat you?
it's good. Yeah, it's cold. It's flat, cold.
Yeah.
But, I enjoyed my time up here. And I still, I'm out visiting right now. And it's a sort of... I don't know. You see friends, and a lot of people are the same age, and it's it tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. I'm glad I'm gone, because I get a lot of nice long summers and
Where are you now?
lakes just outside of Penticton.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the 65-plus crew.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Not so many young guys down there, eh?
Yeah. So I left here, and I worked in Vancouver for about a year and a half. For the ambulance service, and then I was successful at getting a spot in Kelowna. Just the way the ambulance service is shifting, and it's a lot of things are changing within the service. And so Kelowna used to be like 10 years of full-time seniority, and I managed to slide in with a year and 5 months.
Wow.
So just pretty fortunate there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bit of a drive every day, but it's sort of worth being down there, and
all your family base is down there.
Family
too.
is all kind of spread out from
Okanagan.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom and dad are still in Vernon or whatever. So
Nice.
yeah. So
Yeah. Growing up in the Okanagan, did you experience much of the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, that sort of thing in your youth?
I'm the only hunter in my family. My dad, I would often go with him, fishing. He was like a technologist for BC Hydro, and so I used to go to spillways and dams and stuff like that, and he would pull me the odd time, and it's great fishing on spillways and stuff like that. And I used to go to Watchan Lake, which, funny enough, is right by his cabin, down in the Arrow Lakes. Before we even knew each other.
We've been around each other since we were born, and we didn't know each other until we were 17.
Yeah. That's true. So him and I, we were flipping through, we ski, him and I, right? And it's when we were this high, we were in the same ski school together.
No way.
No way.
We did not know each other.
Our parents like my family and his parents live a mile from each other on Okanagan Lake.
Crazy.
And at Silver Star, the cabins are like hundreds of yards apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all the same family friends.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But we met when we were in grade 11.
Yeah.
It's meant to be, eh?
And even funny enough, like even when we did our core course,
Yep.
so good family friends of ours, I convinced me you should do your core course, and I was like, okay, and so didn't know him, but we were in the same core course together. Had no idea.
12 or 13?
13 years old
yeah.
or whatever, and you can
Holy.
take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
So I got kind of into hunting. I don't know, like I was just invited to go on a duck hunt once.
Yep.
And it was the same person who got Brian Postel, who got me. He got me to go on first duck hunt, and I remember I was, I don't even know how old, but I showed up in a head to toe fluorescent, like every single fluorescent, like yellow, green, orange snowsuit.
Yeah.
Because it was cold, right?
Yeah.
And that's what my parents put a fluorescent thing on, and I think he thought, what in the, like, right? And so,
As he's walking back in the truck for a can of spray paint, he's like, "Oh, fix this up right now."
like bright, wow. But that's how I got into it, essentially. And then, and then I did core course. But I never, even after my core course, I think I went duck hunting with him a couple times, but I never got into actually hunting until I met this guy.
And then you're 18.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you can hunt, right?
Solo.
But were you hunting down there when you lived down there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we, like, for deer and black bears.
Yep.
Mainly. But,
Yeah.
so, like, as soon as we were legal, it was, like, we all had our pals and our cores and
Yep.
pickup trucks. And
Yeah. I remember the first deer I ever shot was with this guy, and we skipped school in college and went out, not expecting to shoot something. We're three of us bozos in a regular cab Ford truck heading back because we're not thinking we're going to shoot. And there was a 4-point mule buck standing right in the middle of this FSR
after
road.
walking around all day.
Yeah. So I pile out, and this guy gets his binoculars up, and the thing's like 50 yards from us, right? He's got his binoculars up, like this, looking at this thing. Oh, yeah, it's 4-point. And I, kaboom, right? And then it's running, and so I don't know any difference. So I load, kaboom, and I just, like, I just
nailed it the
unloaded
first
on
time.
this thing. Like, I just, like,
It's like, whack! It's dying. Whack! Oh, well, it's not going to die.
Just tapping out. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm done.
yeah. And a lot of, so, and then since then, like, a lot of my memorable things that I've actually shot have been with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like my dad. So, your dad hunts and then you become old enough and then you seem to start shooting everything when you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
And you shoot everything. And then, so it was weird. For years, I never saw my dad shoot a thing because if I was with him or my brother was or any new hunter, we shot it.
Yeah.
And then Chris, the same thing happened with us. It would be like, yeah, you shoot it, you shoot it, you shoot it. So finally we were on a hunt in Redfern. And we have his gun. Last day, it's foggy all day. And we're walking along. It's 5 o'clock. And it'd been like, you couldn't see 50 feet. So finally it's like, okay, let's go for a walk before it gets dark. Walk down the road a ways. Fog opens up. There's a moose. And I'm like, shoot that moose. And he's like, it's legal. He's like, no, you shoot it. Why? I've never seen you shoot anything.
Yeah.
Which we got it. It all worked out really good.
I like shoved my gun in his hands and he's sitting there. And the thing was 360 something yards
It was
away.
one of my best shots ever.
Yeah.
I rested.
And
on
he
my
rested
knees.
like on his knees like this. And
It was rock solid because Chris is like, oh, I don't like your rest. He's on camera. Actually, it was awesome. He's on camera saying, I don't know, man. That's not a very good rest. I'm like, it feels good. Be quiet. And he's like, I don't know, Robbie. I don't know, Robbie. Boom. And on camera, the moose just goes, poof.
10 points.
I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on film. There's proof. Yeah.
Then he's like, holy crap, you got it. Little did we know there was 400 yards of swamp between that little dry spot where it was sitting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a moose for you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only reason it's out there, it's on an island.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of different stories for sure.
Yeah. Lots of stories, but there's one that stands out.
Which one? No.
What is he talking about?
Yeah. That's the sheep hunt. Yeah.
Had you been on a sheep hunt before that trip?
Yeah.
That was maiden voyage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had, like, we've done a few trips together, like not sheep hunting or whatever, but kind of like, a couple bigger trips and stuff like that, but nothing like that. And so I'd seen for quite a few years like his pictures. He'd come back in the mountains, and I'd just be like,
amazing.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I have to see this one day, right?
Yeah.
And I just patiently waited my turn.
Yeah.
You know, like he would take his brother or whatever, or his, you know, his wife or this and that, the other. And then one year he was like, it's your turn. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. Right.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to like prep for it or whatever and get in shape and stuff like that. And so I went out to like the Fort St. John lookout with my pack, and I went up and down the mountain and like that hillside there and try to like get myself.
Oh, doing the peace breaks, eh?
Yeah.
That's a good hump.
Yeah.
Too.
And got to know a guy out there that goes up and down that thing 5 times a day. We'd see these piles of rocks in line, and I thought, what in the hell? Like, and then you'd go, and then there'd be one rock over. Anyway, this old timer down there, he moves a rock over every time he goes up and down the thing.
Counting how many
times he goes up and down there. Anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, so I like got ready, and then I, like, growing up was kind of around horses a bit, but I was like 12, 13 years old, and I had ridden. I actually had my own horse, but not like, so I knew what a horse was all about, but I knew this was going to be like a whole other ball of wax, right? And I had been on a pack trip like into the mountains once years ago when I was like 14 or something like that. It was a fishing trip, and but you know, so we started going out on horses, and he started kind of showing me knots and what to expect and stuff like that. So I kind of got my backside prepped a little bit for that.
Oh yeah.
And and then the time came, and he gave me a plant for my birthday, and he was like, the rest is a sheep hunt. And I was like, oh, that's fair. You know, like, and because we left, like, well, I guess my birthday is August 9th, so a little ways afterwards, but
towards the end of the month, yeah.
Yeah. And like, it was quite the experience. Like, even when we left, there's horses are getting excited and they're bucking and packs are going, and I'm thinking, oh my God,
what did I get myself
what is
into?
gonna happen here?
The first 6 hours was pretty intense.
Like,
they just don't want to cooperate at first.
There was 2 groups of horses that didn't know each other, and the one group wanted to move a lot faster than the other, and then the horses Leah and Chris had were moving slower. So like there was these big gaps happening, and then my horse would get all worked up, and then their horses would get worked up. And then we took a shortcut through muskeg, and
yeah.
Leah almost died.
Yeah, I remember Leah like getting it was
2 pack horses wrapped
around herself and like pulled over, and she was
it was brutal.
And then the one horse went down in the muskeg, and the other one fell over, and the one that fell over, the other one was trying to pull out of the muskeg. So it's like, yeah.
You can't. Unless you've been there, you can't rehearse it.
Hitting things, yelling.
Yeah, we're trying to get this other horse up, and it's like trying to pull this other horse out of the muskeg, and like Robbie's screaming at me, "I need help!" So I'm running over there, and he always said, "Carry a knife on you when you're riding. Carry a knife on you."
Fixed blade knife.
Or anything. Like fast. Even a leather.
When I run over there and there's these 2 horses pulling each other apart, and this rope is like, zzz, you know, I pull out my knife, and I was like, should I get it? You know, like, and I'm not like, I feel like I'm halfway between a city guy and not a city guy. Like I'm okay in the bush. Yeah. But like, we were with this guy, who took us in there, and he is like the definition of guy. I think he spends a month or so in the back.
He'll go not to hunt, right? Yeah. With his wife and whoever
just wants to be in the bush.
He'll go hunting too, but
Gavin,
his name's Gavin Houston. He's from Fort St. John, and he just loves going to the mountains on horses. Like that's the
that's cool.
I remember, like, I didn't say a peep. Like, he was kind of rough around the edges. Nice, really nice, guy.
He's an awesome guy.
But a little rough around the edges.
Yeah.
And so that first day, it was hell. And then the weather just went tanked on us. It was cold and raining. And so I think we rode for like 12 or 13 hours the first day into
and coming down a pass at the end.
Yeah, just like real. Like you're cold and shivering and it's miserable. And
what am I doing? What did I get into?
Yeah, where's the
and I didn't complain not once. I didn't say a word. My ass hurt, but whatever, right? And I think he was kind of had his eye on me, like expecting me to like tap out
Yeah.
or whatever complaint, and I didn't say anything. The very next morning, I think it was, he came over and he's like, "You'll be all right." And he like shook my hand, and then it was great. It was gold from there.
Test
right?
over, right?
Yeah,
It was-
you definitely
You
get
It was
passed
a hard
round
first
one.
day, that was for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But and then
Isn't
we had
that how
that
it always is?
horse die on us, and just like it was.
It was a harder pack trip, like overall, like the different things that happen with horses. Because that first day coming, so generally speaking, if you have 10 horses and most of them know each other, you can turn one loose. It doesn't matter who it is. It's
Yeah.
going to follow the other horses because that's where its safety net is, right?
Yeah.
We had one right at the end of the day. We're like 20 minutes from camp coming down this huge pass towards the Bessa. And maybe half an hour, but it's like a shitty, muddy, it's been raining trail. And it just turns around and starts running back the other way in the dark. And it's like, tie up the horse, run back up the mountain. Like, we're corralling this friggin' thing, get it caught finally, had to drag it down the hill. Like, it would not go.
And were these borrowed horses from your brother?
No. There was only one borrowed horse. That's
Oh,
the one
okay.
that died.
The one that.
Go figure.
Well, we had another
rental
one,
horses, eh?
but we had Ed.
Yeah.
So my brother has an Arabian. Really spirited.
Yeah.
Awesome bush
Spirited.
horse because that thing always goes. But that's how Chris rode most of the time. And that horse he's like full of beans.
Yeah.
He's
Comes
one of
with a
those
big
horses
log.
you want to kill him, but you know he's one of the most valuable ones in your string because he's always ready to go.
Yeah.
I would try to get on that horse, and it would be like
Prancing.
it would be prancing around, and it would be like like just ready to run, and I'm still trying to get on my ass on the right way, and all the rest. And then it started. I didn't know the first time it came to a big fallen tree, right? And it comes up to this tree, and it goes right up there, and it's like, oh, good, and just lunges, and I almost come like I stay in the saddle, but like I was airborne for a while. It's just like
It was fun.
Oh,
but yeah.
yeah. It's like when you think your horse is going to drink out of the creek, and then all of a sudden, same thing.
Lunge.
Whoop, head up, boom, you're
But yeah,
in the
it's-
creek.
It's a tough go. Yeah, it's not
Fun.
not easy for sure.
Horses are one of those love them or hate them
Yeah.
creatures. And talking to Nathan, hearing him talk about them, he wants nothing to do with them. But I mean, he goes one way, he sends the guys with the horses the other way.
Well,
and-
if he's never hunted with them, it would be like, if you always, had your coffee a certain way, it'd be like,
Why do I want it black? I'm used to cream
could-
and sugar.
I could have it black, but why
Yeah.
would I? It's just what you're used to.
Yeah. Comfort.
And there's definitely the nice thing about like the backpack guys is they're like, oh, this is where I'm camping and I'm also hunting. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm hunting. I'm
Yep.
not dealing with horses. That's what pisses backpack guys off, right? It's like
And
the
now
horses ran away. What the? Just let them run away. I'll walk out. Like,
Yeah, we'll pick them up later.
yeah,
I'm going sheep hunting this morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no sleeping in either.
no.
No. But it's worth getting back that far, way the heck back
there's-
there, and
There's places in this world that you can't go on your backpack.
yeah.
And then the comfort of the gear and the food and stuff that you can pack in
Sure.
that you didn't backpack in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the longevity too. I mean, if you had a real horse string, I mean, geez, I could stay out there for 50
Well,
days.
that who's the photographer? Sawchuck.
Yep.
Yep.
Sawchuck.
Sawchuck check.
He does that, right? He'll
Yep,
go
Wayne.
for like from one range over another, take a bunch of horses, and he's gone for weeks and weeks and weeks,
Yep.
Oh yeah,
just enjoying life.
yeah. That's yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
Better than a helicopter.
But I guess getting like for me, like it was pretty incredible being out there in the mountains, but we didn't like see a lot. Like we didn't see any rams until the rams that I spotted.
Oh,
Yeah.
we saw dinks, like not like half curls and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And lambs and ewes.
Lots of lambs and ewes.
We had them right in camp.
How did they taste?
Snowy.
But that I remember, I can still remember that when I spotted those rams, and it was like, I'm just looking at the mountainside because it's the first time I'm doing this,
Yeah.
right? And I was getting like decent but not great, right? And I remember him and his wife, him and his stinky ass feet, were out in that, and the river was like pumice, right? And so, and it was sunny. It was just black, like charcoal pumice. And this guy had his feet out and like sunning himself. And we were supposed to leave. We were going to leave the next day. I think it was, right? Yeah.
I'm just like, this is nice.
Yeah. And so then I was just glassing along and whoa, and I was like, oh, Robbie, sheep. And then I still remember him lying there and just kind of going, are they up high? And I was like, well, kinda, yeah, they're up there. And then it was kind of like, well, maybe it piques his interest a bit, and then get out the spotting scope or whatever. And yeah, it was like whatever 6 or
I thought there was
6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, six.
You were using binos?
When he spotted them, it was a wicked spot. It was like
well, it was
kilometers.
just because it was kind of brown, and they were all on this shelf, and they all had their butts. They were all lined up like this, and they all had their white butts.
Yep.
So
That's
it just looked
You could see
out
the
as
banana strip.
it just looked out of shape. Like
Yeah, they
it was
were
just
like
their white asses.
2/3 of the way up the mountain. Not like there was a cliff bound, but there was forest above them a bit, and it wasn't like the typical.
Oh,
There wasn't a bowl.
Yeah.
They were just like in this weird shale ridge and in the heat waves too. It was a really good spot. It was
Yeah.
like
But that's the mistakes you need. Like stone sheep are so hard to spot until they get up and feed, and all of a sudden, bam, you pick up a white stripe of their ass or legs.
Well, they were all just like literally hanging out. I think enjoying the sun, just sitting there, right? And and we watched them for. We knew already it was too late, but we watched these. Well, we call them the brothers, right? These two ones that were just flared out, and I was just like, oh, that's the one that's what I want. Like, it doesn't have to be. I just
they were
super
nice rams. We just couldn't count them.
yeah
It was
Not in the
frustrating.
mirage.
Well, even when we got close the next day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, we left that early that morning and snuck our way up. And I remember we got to the top of the mountainside there, and we just about got caught. He's a little bit ahead of me, and he was all of a sudden he's like, "Don't move!" And so I went like this, and a couple of rams. I don't know if you remember that. Walked right by us, like right by us.
Yeah, some dinks.
And so we were all laying in the shale. There,
Yeah.
And they I don't know, 30 yards kind of thing, just walked right. And then we kind of went top of the mountain, and we just kept on like trying to catch up to them, and they would move a little bit.
And those two brothers or whatever, they were always at the far of the group. So like the closest rams are a couple hundred yards. They're like 500 yards.
Yeah.
And they were always like just over.
Just
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Just out of range.
had
Yeah.
some idea or what.
At this moment, a customer walked in to do some late night Christmas shopping as Devin forgot to lock the door. Okay,
So we were basically
spotted rams,
We were hiking up the hill.
Rams had walked by us.
rams
Yeah.
walked by us, and then
and they were always at the front. The two that
the two that we were going for was
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
always
about
up front. Yeah.
200 yards from the back one, 500 yards from the front
Yeah,
one.
and it's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and they're like working their way back off the top of the mountain, kind of.
And then it was like 3 or 4 that were just bedded, and the other ones were that.
Closer to us,
Yeah, and the other ones were again like, and Robbie's like, I don't know.
and we're
Like,
out in the middle of that. Like we're not on the edge where we can just anymore. We're kind of like if we move, we're going to be
we're
seen.
toast. Yeah, because it's flat. There's just little shrubs or whatever. We sat there for a long time. I remember like seeing caribou actually from way off in the distance start to come towards us, and we chose out one out of there, and we talked about it for quite a while, and basically like it's my first time doing that, so I really went off of his advice because he spent some time in the mountains. He's done a few sheep hunts and stuff like that, and he said that one there is a nice ram. He's like, I would shoot that ram, and I went. I sat there for a bit more and thinking, am I gonna ever get this opportunity again? Like he's telling me it's a nice ram. A lot of guys come up for years and years and years and years and years and years and
Definitely not on their first go.
yeah, and so I just made the decision to to be with him and to pull the trigger. So we got set up and watched it for a long time, and I made sure that everything was going to be right and done right and all the rest of it, and pulled the trigger, and everything was good.
and it was how far?
It was like
220.
230 or
Comfortable.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice, and it would have been bedded or behind something, and then it stepped out broadside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
How long were you laying on it before you got to pull the trigger?
So, like
Half.
well, like we'd been looking at those rams for an hour and a half, probably.
Yeah.
Like
And he's like, and I remember him being like, okay, come on, like, and I was actually truthfully kind of like looking around to see if those other two might pop up somewhere close by.
Oh, this wasn't one of the front two. This was a
No.
different
No,
one.
this was
gotcha.
a different one.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I'm like secretly hoping, and I think I said, if it like pops up, then I will pull the trigger kind
Yeah.
of thing, and that's what happened, and so then he had to go back and get our packs and stuff, which we had kind of left because we were
Yeah, we were just
we were
crawling,
crawling.
through the moss and
yeah.
for like 500 or 600 yards.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was just I was on cloud nine, you know, like here I am way up on the top of the mountain, and guys dream of doing this,
Yep.
and this is my first time kick of the can, and I get this beautiful sheep, right? So we did a big high five, of course, before, and took some pictures and all the rest of it, and then it was we had to get off the top of that mountain, right? And cleaned it all up, and then started our descent down, and it was steep. It was like
We had to find our way through that top cliff band to
Yeah.
get into the steep stuff.
into the steep stuff.
Was it already getting kind of dark when you guys
No,
were
no,
going
it
out?
was-
Still
it was
had
like-
some time.
That was like 3.
That's the best part
3
about
o'clock,
August.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's the nice part
Yeah.
about August. Eh?
Well,
It's
it was
dark.
the end of the month, so it got dark around 8:39, actual dark.
Yeah, something like
Like
that.
I think the helicopters had to be down by 8:30. I thought
I don't remember,
something like that. Yeah, it was dark by 9, I think.
but
So we had lots of time at that point.
but there was like I had never come off a cliff like that, and so I'm trying all sorts of different things. I'm trying sticks and branches, like, you know, to support myself. At some points, I'm crawling backwards on all fours, like.
With 75 pounds on your back.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
at least.
If you're
yeah.
lucky.
Yeah, and the terrible. This guy is so fast on his feet, and it drives me crazy. Like whenever we go on a hunt or something like that, we always get separated, and then I catch up to him, and he's at a 10-minute break, and then he fucking takes off again, and I'm like winded as hell. So anyway, same thing going down that hillside. Like he's always like ahead of me, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And we stopped a couple times for
Yeah.
breaks and had
Take
a
the weight
drink
off
or
your hips.
yeah, take a drink and whatever kind of thing, and we were so close. We were so close to the darn horses that it was, it was.
Was the goal to catch up to the people that you were with?
No,
or-
they left that morning.
and they left you guys a couple horses?
Oh, we kept, I don't know, 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Leah just took one horse and maybe one pack horse out with
Gotcha.
her, and we had everything because we had our big tent and we had the full camp, right?
Yeah, for
And
2
you left
guys,
all that
usually
stuff
5
back at-
horses is a
Yeah,
good
we had like
string.
5 or 6 horses total, but at the bottom of the hill we had two. The riding horses. There was 3, so we had 5. There was 3 back tied up.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, that's one thing that I always touch on is like Leah, his wife, is a trooper, right? And loves being in the outdoors and loves hiking. And she was with us every day hiking or whatever. And she'd always be beside me, right?
Yep.
And like, thank Christ she had left that day.
Yeah.
Because she would have been there. And she would have been attacked, guaranteed. Like, and so, like, I don't know. Like I've known her longer than I've known him, and her and I actually lived together while he was off hunting and stuff. And it's just like I am so thankful that she was not there.
Yeah.
Here's a beautiful woman, and I just couldn't imagine it's
It's
hard
a lot
to,
different.
It's hard.
Well,
to,
I think we both feel a lot more regret. Like we feel bad about that because she'd be there to be with us, not because
Yep.
she's on a hunt, right? She was just
The
there-
companionship.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she
loves being in the mountains
Yeah.
and the outdoors and horses.
She
and-
personally could care less about the sheep other than eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like shooting it, she wouldn't want anything to do with it. She'd be great meat. I love it.
Yeah.
Lots of packing. Yeah, perfect.
But when we were so close, like getting to the actual story part of it, like again, this guy is ahead of me, and I remember thinking, I'm going to get back to camp and my boots are going to be full of blood. Like, and I'm thinking, all I can imagine is my boots are going to be full of blood. How am I going to get on the horse? Like, I'm thinking about all the next step logistics and all the rest of it, right? And then all of a sudden, I just hear, And I think, that's a bear. And then I'm like, where's that bear coming from, right? Like, because we're on this like knoll, right? We're on this grassy knoll, right? And I remember just yelling to Robbie, just saying like, bear, 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 I could hear a bear. Of course, he's away, so I'm yelling this at him, right? And I know it's a bear. I've never heard a bear do that before, but I know it's a bear. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what I thought, but I just started like, I don't remember, I think I thought, I'm going to get to a tree. I'm going to get to a tree, Robbie can protect me, I'm going to get to a tree, I can get my gun and see maybe where this thing is at.
You just put something between you, right?
So I remember I started like hustling, almost like a jog. I remember seeing a big tree because it was still kind of open. And I'm like, I'm going to get to that tree or whatever, right?
And you're in a windfall.
We're just sort of breaking into
big trees.
Big trees, little trees, stick trees kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so when I yell to Robbie, and then all he hears, it's right behind you, it's right behind you, it's right behind you, right? And I just instinctively grabbed my pack, undid the double buckles, and swung my pack down, only to look up and see her coming like right at me. And I just remember it's like bowling. She was in front, and her two cubs were on either side, and they are just barreling at me. And
you were trying to get your gun?
I was frantically going for my rifle.
Yeah.
And like, so it was her. What I heard was, her carrying herself, like her galloping down that, because it's steep, right? Yeah,
legs
just
punching
like
the lungs
and stuff like that. And she's just grunting away. And I don't remember the second she grabbed me. Like I remember looking up and seeing her coming at me, and she was still like, I don't know, 50 yards, or that's what I remember, 50 yards or something like that. And then she was just like a couple seconds. I did not have time to rip my gun off my pack, and I think I actually had one in the tube.
Yeah.
But I still didn't have time to get actually off my pack.
Wow.
I remember he said that I instinctively, like just at the very last second, I swung around and she put a huge hole, right? She grabbed me or whatever and put a huge hole in the back of my neck. Oof. And then she had me. And the first thing she did, which I learned from the COs later, is that their natural instinct is to go for the face, right? So she just grabbed me and just shook me. And now, like, things that stick with you, when you have like a lab or something with like a rope and they grab it and they shake it.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I just can't. I can't do it.
Just triggers it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what she did with me. She just shook me. She just grabbed me. And then I stuck this arm up to like protect myself. And she grabbed this arm and just tore it, like whatever. And then I remember shoving this hand like in her mouth, and she punctured me right through there, and she tore like kind of across here. But I remember people always ask me, "Oh, do you smell her breath?" And I don't remember that, but I remember like her on top of me like this and just kind of looking down at me, and she would grab me and shake, and then she would stop and she would do this just like look for her cubs, and then go ah! And then just grab me again and just shake me. And so she, like I said, she got my face, this arm, she did a lot of damage. She tore all the way across here, like from my scapula.
Claws?
Mouth.
With her mouth? All mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then across here and my ass. And then she did a lot of damage. She grabbed me at one point, I don't remember that point, but she grabbed me behind my knee and just tore like that, just shook me. And I remember thinking like, this is it. I'm dying here. Like it's kind of like it was a lot of thoughts, but I remember this is it. I'm going to die. And then but when she would she grabbed this and tore for a split second, it was like back to my medic stuff. I was like, I can survive. I'm surviving this. Like I'm good. I can survive that, right? For that split second, but then thinking,
because it's just your arm at that point.
Yeah.
And he's like cataloging his injuries mentally.
Okay, I've been attacked here.
And then I'm thinking, and in all those seconds, I also thinking like, I know Robbie's there, and I'm thinking, shoot it. Just, and that's all I know that's gonna possibly save me is to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, holy Christ, don't miss, don't miss. Because it was right. He describes it a dog eating out of a dish. She was right over top of me, right? And so I'm thinking, don't miss, don't miss, don't miss.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and then I remember hearing him yelling, like angrily yelling, hey, bear, swearing at this thing, and then it was gone. And I remember hearing yelling, and then boom, and then boom, and I think, perfect, like he's gotten this bear, it's gone or whatever. And so my pack was like right beside me when all this was like, she dragged me a little bit, but it was essentially I kind of just crawled over to my pack, and my inReach was in the bottom of the pack, and I wrestled around for it and pulled it out, and I had it on all day because I'm really I'm dorky safety conscientious just from my career in the ambulance service. If it's going to happen, it will happen. Like, to the things that I see, it's just like, how does this, does this actually, how? And it does. It happens.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I had it on, and I remember holding it and thinking, do I need to activate this? And as the blood is, pouring off my face onto it, and I was like, okay, I got to do this right. And
I'm not going to walk this off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little water in a knee and fix that, right?
But I think I didn't know he was attacked. I had no idea. So I'm thinking, maybe
we can ride
maybe
this
we
out.
can do this, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing that I'm torn to shit, like I'm basically hamburgered. And then I grabbed my gun, and then I remember calling out to him and kind of getting, from what I remember, a half response. I yelled out to him and be like, Robbie, are you okay? And he was like, yeah.
I was shocked to hear your voice.
Yeah. But not we're great,
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Bear down.
But so I picked myself off the ground, and I just walked down to him. And I've seen a lot of people hurt in my days, whatever. And from a long ways away, I saw him, and I thought, oh shit. And he looked like he was tangled, like his legs were just wrapped around a fallen tree or whatever, right? And I think his hips are busted, his legs are busted. I had no idea. And so I hobble over to him, and he's really bad with blood. And I remember this. And he's on the ground, and I guess I'm talking to him at this point, and I remember walking up to him, but kind of being walking up to him, because I know I am looking pretty ugly right now. And looking at him and just waiting for him to just go poof. Well, he was already on the ground, but, but just waiting for him to pass out, right? And I remember seeing that tooth mark in the side of his neck and just thinking, oh my God, just knowing, right?
You knew what a carotid artery looked like.
Yeah. Of course, it's not bleeding, but what I thought was, that is so close to his carotid artery. Yeah. And it was like you took a knife and went in your steak. It was just a perfect tooth
puncture.
Perfect tooth mark right there. And then I just went back to my training, really. It was so funny how I went back to my training. I just did, we call it an RBS, or a rapid body survey. And I was just just start doing my thing, right? And he's like, I can't feel my side or whatever. And I went, oh my God, he's got a neck injury. That's what I thought. He's got a neck injury. We just hiked off a mountain. How, it ended up he had a stroke, right? But why would he have why would he have had a stroke? So I'm thinking, she's ragdoll. I mean, he's got a cervical spine, is fractured or impaired or whatever, right? So I instinctively grab moss and dirt, and I just pull it in and around, and I pack his head and neck. And then I continue on and do my thing and all the rest of it.
He's seriously messed up when he's doing this. So bad, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's just I don't know, it's just my training just kind of and ridiculously back to the basics.
And you've done it how many times before?
Thousands.
Right? Yeah.
The positive voice, too. We're going to fix you up, and you're going to be just fine. And I was like, holy cow.
Knowing that
he's way better than he looks.
Yeah.
It was, if you couldn't see him, you couldn't tell from hearing his voice. Because he was like, I'm going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to.
Yeah.
This is my best friend. He's helpless, and I didn't care. I am the blood is pouring off of me because the head injuries they don't stop bleeding.
No.
Right. And this part is my scalp is torn open.
Yeah.
And but I didn't care, and so I remember him going down, and he's telling me what's going on and all the rest of it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, doing my thing and all the rest of it, and the only thing that I could have picked up on is his speech was a little bit slurry, which is indicative, of a stroke or whatever. But so then I'm thinking okay, and he asks me, did you do your in reach? And I was like, yep, it's done, and the rest of it. So, what I did was I hit my SOS, and then, working in the north, the very next person I also texted was a close friend of mine, Mark Phibbs, who used to be my neighbor. He's a paramedic, full-time paramedic, and my unit chief, Daryl Key. And so I initially sent them, I think, a message that I got a sheep, and then I sent them, and thankfully my Dorcas unit chief, no offense, Daryl, he's not a text message guy.
Yeah.
But, in reach text message, and thank goodness he looked. And a lot of our rescue is kudos to that man, because he got on the blower right away. Because I said, we've been attacked by a bear, need a helicopter to seriously hurt. I kind of, limited what you can do on your thing,
160
right?
characters, let's get her fired up.
And I have one hand that I'm working with trying to do this and all the rest of it, and just wiping the blood off the screen as I'm texting, and the whole works, right? And thankfully he looked, and he got the right, he phoned our dispatch, which is in Kamloops, and which, makes an event, and it's this is what we need, this is what's going on, da 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 da. And we had such a short window for daylight.
It was 5 o'clock.
It was just before, I think, 5 o'clock that it happened. And so luckily he got the resources going, and then that was the first okay, we know, people know we need help.
Yeah.
We need help bad. And then
what time was this?
5 o'clock-ish.
Right around that time.
Yeah.
So then, we're all sweaty. He's sweaty. He's on the ground. He's cold.
Yeah.
Right. So I make him a fire, right from, you right next to him, and I stockpile wood and all the rest of it. And he says, let out 3 gunshots, for the distress, or, hunter in distress kind of thing. And so just in case.
Could be someone else around,
right?
We had quite a bit of ammo.
Yeah.
We had lots of ammo.
Yeah. So I did that.
You
And
only
I'm
shot
kind of
once,
thinking,
so
where
yeah,
should I shoot? I don't know. I'm going to let 3 shots out here, right? But I would boom, 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 right? And then I reloaded, and I remember I put those guns ready to roll in the tube, safety's off, because I didn't know where... this bear was not dead. I knew that. The bear was not dead.
Yeah.
I think he told me it ran off or something like that.
Did you say you heard 2 booms?
From me. Yeah,
From you? You shot twice.
I missed
Okay.
the first one.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
Gotcha.
I closed that gap, and
Yeah.
Offhand,
I think I hit it
Right.
then, but
Yeah.
nobody knows.
And so he's cold, so I make the fire. And all these things are going through my head, okay, how are we getting out of here? What does this look like? We have $10,000 worth of optics and all this stuff, and I'm it's a helicopter, and I've been on the helicopters, and I know usually we're too bad, you're leaving it.
Yeah.
So I go down to his pack, I hobbled down to his pack, which was a little ways away, and I grabbed a garbage bag and I threw all of our optics, and I was if anything, we are taking these optics off this mountainside.
And I was I don't care, you can have them.
But
I'm bringing my Swarovskis home.
Yeah.
that's what. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so then I'm, he's I'm thirsty, Chris. I'm thirsty. It's he's kind of shocky or whatever, and so I'm trying to do everything for him. And I remember we were so close to our horses, we drank all of our water. We had no water left.
Yeah. You
And
gave
so
it to me.
Yeah, so I literally went down and found a camelback that I had, and I literally squeezed everything out of that thing and gave him a tablespoon by mouth. And I guess you just do what you just try and do what you can. We had food, which was good, but then it was scary. A few things happened for me. One of the times I didn't know where the bear was, and we were in this little hollow, and so when I needed to get wood, I would just peer out, and I would literally close my eyes and just listen, just hear, and I didn't go far, but it scared the shit out of me because I didn't know where that thing was. It's hard to see. All the grass is gold. Like, she's gold, the grass is gold. Like, it could be right there, bleeding or hurt. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I would go out, and this arm, I could not use this arm. So I got the gun in here, and I'm just kind of like throwing wood, and and then I come back. And the one time I came back, and I was so exhausted, and I leaned against this hillside, and my chest just went. Which hunters know what a lung shot is, and they know that, and that's what my chest did. And I went, oh my God, like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I thought I had what we call a pneumothorax, like a punctured lung.
Yeah.
But it ended up, thankfully, it ended up just being a huge, with all that work, it was just a huge air pocket went underneath my flesh. And when I leaned down, it released.
Whoopee cushioned out.
Essentially, whoopee cushioned out.
Yeah.
It scared the hell out of me.
Is that the technical term?
Might be.
Whoopee cushioned out. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of a tear under your armpit? Like, I mean,
I think there was 3 main ones that went across here, and they were all about, like, I think they're about this long.
About a foot long.
Yeah. And then like gaping open, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Because again, just teeth. We actually took his brother's bare skull one time and lined it up like it was like Cinderella. The teeth on my
they fit
chest.
perfect.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But and then another scary part was, and that's I guess using your head right is it's hard in that moment, and I was scared, but I think Robbie's gun slid down, and I told you I had ready to roll,
Yeah.
And I grabbed his barrel and I pulled it, and there must have been a stick or something, and it just went boom, and it went like boom, right here.
Oh wow!
And I was just like, it almost blew my head off.
Yeah,
like literally, almost blew my head off because I just grabbed that barrel and it was kind of beside me. And I just went like this, and the gun discharged. Yeah, scared the hell out of me.
That would have sucked.
Yeah.
We're in the clear and bang. Well.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and I mean, you're just focused on survival.
Yeah.
Like just the core survival.
Sure.
How do I not bleed out? How do I not do this? And pull the gun up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I remember doing all these things and keeping us warm. And I remember Robbie saying, he said, I want to hear the whop, 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 whop. And I said, it's coming, Robbie, it's coming. I promise you it's coming. Like I'm doing text messages and through the inReach and getting these updates and stuff like that. And then I knew they were coming. So I put a big pile of green, like I grabbed a bunch of green because we were in the trees, right? Now we were in he was on the edge of like actual trees that hadn't burnt. So it was hard so I was going to send smoke up. Like as soon as I heard that helicopter, which is what I did.
Yep.
The helicopter came and I just sent smoke up. But yeah, it was a long, those few hours. I think we were together for 4 hours or something like that. Three hours or something like that was long but short, But I remember he was scared, obviously, and he said, if something happens, like, I want you to take care of my family. And I said, Robbie, you shut the fuck up. We are getting out of here. Like, you shut up. I am not letting this happen.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, just from my experience, I was pretty sure we were very hurt. I didn't think we were going to be knocking on death's door, but I knew we were messed up. Right?
Yeah.
And then the helicopters came, and the one helicopter came and had those. I went up the hillside and met the 2 medics and the police officer that was there. And they looked at me, and it was just like...
You got up and hiked up at this point?
Yeah.
Because they couldn't land in the trees.
They couldn't land, so they did a hover exit or whatever. And the medics, the police officer, he got out, and then the medics crawled out onto his back while the machine is sitting on the hillside, right? And then they grabbed their gear, and I met them, and I just remember them being like, seeing me, right? Because I had been bleeding for a long time, and they were just like, oh, yeah. But I was like, go to Robbie, just go to Robbie, just go to Robbie, just go to Robbie. And then they were like, we're getting out of here, go up the mountainside to a clearing where they thought they could kind of get out. Yeah. And so that's when we got separated for the first time. I went up, And I sat up there by myself for quite a while they all went down to him. And that pilot, like, kudos to him. I remember that pilot just kind of did this.
Oh, wow.
He had he was an outdoorsman, like a sheep hunter, I think, and he was smart enough to realize like that bear could be there.
Yeah.
And he did this for as long as for just pure noise for a while until he had to leave because of daylight kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I remember it was pretty much dark, and I remember sitting there, and I remember seeing one of the medics. She was coming up the mountainside by herself, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not good. So then I go down, and we go back up together. And by this time, I've gone up and down a couple times this like steep face. I don't know, a few hundred yards. I've been bleeding a lot, and I am starting to feel messed up, like not healthy.
Yeah.
And I realized that. And I think I went down one more time, and then the next medic came up, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay. And then they are trying to make me a fire because I am like not healthy at this point. And they started kind of doing things, and one of them luckily could do IVs. So she started an IV on me to give me like replenish fluids and stuff like that and make a fire. And then all of a sudden the cop shows up that had come. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's funny. Like, that's odd. That's quite odd. But here I am, like, almost on the verge of, like, passing out.
Yeah.
I'm cuddled up to a fire now, and the police goes to us all, Robbie's doing great. He's got a fire. He's got his gun. He's doing really good. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, like...
You trust the people that are there to save you.
Yeah.
And you're in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's the hardest thing that I've ever, out of a lot of that, like, to know that your best friend is down there by himself, scared, like, to find out after the fact.
Yeah.
It's really terrible. And a lot of us, like the person who found him, so the other helicopter followed the river up, found the next helicopter, put down. And then they hiked up through the dark, the conservation officer, Micah, and the pilots, because they're all down there on the river, and then the one girl that I still work with today, and they all hiked up and they find him. He's like slumped over.
No fire,
no jacket on properly, scared out of his mind, and like, that's tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough, and it's affected a lot of us as. Things affect us responders, but like I know that still affects a bunch of people that were there that night. So that's tough, and I guess like you said, you kind of trust the people that come to help you, but I guess it's different when, in the same token, like when you're the guy that goes there and kind of knows almost better. I beat myself up about it when I start to really think about it, but. So anyway, we were up there, and then we knew that we weren't leaving because it's pitch black.
Yeah.
It's pitch black, and eventually, after a while, then I had to pick myself up off the ground again, and get down the mountainside again, so that we were like all be sort of united as one.
Yeah.
And when I got down there, I saw like Donna, who I've known for a lot of years, and she was there, and I just gave her a huge hug, and then they had Robbie was already cocooned up in this thing or whatever next to the fire, and they were doing lots for him, and then they got me wrapped up and basically cocooned too, and we spent a long time there. But I remember it was cold, quite cold, and then it was like, okay, the helicopter's here, because we were sending all these messages and through my inReach, because once help came, they were trying to use satellite phones, which
that sucked.
That just did not work. So they ended up using my inReach device to then, because I was texting also my manager, Rick Lukes, who's he lives here in Dawson Creek, and all these messages are making their way through the correct avenues, right?
Yep.
Through our dispatch, which then goes to the RCMP, which then goes, so everybody's knows the know. And so we're getting updates as to where the helicopter is. Well, it's in Prince George, it has to get fuel and all this, right? And then, and then it's here, and then it's here, and then we hear it. And then we hear it, and it's like, and it flies up the other valley. And I'm thinking, like, what in the hell is going on here? But, and then I remember them counting it in, so they would key their mic and they could, like, ping that. They could ping the signal from where they were keying. They would do a 10 count, right? And they'd be like, yep, okay, and they turned around and came back. But it was a long time. I remember when I first got there, I kind of knew we were good, and Robbie's lying there, and I'm kind of asking him how it's going and stuff, and he goes, I'm going to sell it all. He's like, I'm going to sell the business, I'm going to sell my guns, I'm going to sell the horses, I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to be the biggest, baddest boat, and we're going fishing. I was like, I'm in. Like, I'm in. You're
going to go fishing.
We're going fishing. That's safe.
It lasted a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so it was...
So what time did the chopper come in the morning?
3.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
3 a.m. Yeah. We were there for a while, and everyone who was there, they stayed warm around the fire. They actually ate the sheep, and they were like, hey, can we have some sheep? And we're like, yeah, please help yourself, right? And so...
Some of them, it was their first sheep meat.
Yeah.
No way.
And then we heard that helicopter, and it was like... I remember saying to Robbie, because I worked for Robbie too, and we were there at one point, and I was like, Robbie, and he was like, yeah. I was like, I'm going to need to take some time off, I think. Because I was supposed to go back to work when we got out. Like, when we got out of sheep, I think I was just supposed to go back to work for him or whatever, right?
Need a little R&R.
Yeah. But when that helicopter came, it was still good, and they came, and it took them a long time, actually. But I remember they packaged Robbie up, and they stuck me in the tiniest little, like, basket. Like,
it was like the size of this, slightly.
Yeah, like this big kind of thing. It's one of the ones they pitch into the ocean with the big floats on it kind of thing, but it's small. And they stuck me in that, and then they buggered off or whatever. And so I was freezing cold. Like, freezing cold. Because my coat's all tore to hell, right? Yep. I've lost, some fluids, and it's minus, like, whatever, I don't know, a few or 4 degrees.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You got to know with furnace on the go.
Yeah. And so Micah, the CO, the pilots of Bailey's helicopters, they have sleeping bags in their choppers. So he grabbed the sleeping bag and he just, like, held me, essentially, and tried to keep me warm as I, like, shook there. And then eventually the time came, and I just remember that spaceship coming over us. It was so loud, that Cormorant helicopter, just made everything like daylight. And then pulled us out. They pulled you out first? No, they pulled the girls. The girls. They pulled the two paramedics out of there, because the helicopters were going back through anyway, so they got a free ride back, which is kind of neat, because the other 2 helicopters were stranded until daylight. Right? Yeah. They can't fly. And then I went up, and it sounds kind of corny, but like when I went up there, it was starting to be a little bit daylight. Like, you see some light, like a little bit of light in the sky-ish, or it was bright, or maybe it was just the moon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, looking down and seeing, like, where we were, right? And seeing, like, bandages and gear and backpacks and seeing that. And then looking out from where we had come, where our main camp was. And at that point, I was like, we're out of here. We're safe.
Finally. Until I thought to myself, how do I get from the basket into the helicopter?
Ratchet strapped in.
Well, they winch you up, and I'm thinking, like, boy, that's a long ways down. Like, what if the thing spreads and I go right through the middle or whatever?
It must have been 100 feet up there.
Oh, yeah. Above the trees. Yeah, it was a long ways up, right?
It was freaky as shit.
And how do they get you into the chopper?
They just
pivot wing
pull the basket right into the stretch. Like, it kind of just goes right into the machine, into the helicopter.
They just wind back.
Yeah, I think there's a slot, actually, maybe even forward or whatever. But either way, the basket goes inside the machine, right? And then they ordered me to the back, and the back is like a door that opens and closes, right? And so I sat there and with a blanket, and the two girls are there, and we're all just sort of sitting there. And then they bring Robbie in, and I would like compose myself pretty good throughout the whole thing. But when they got Robbie there and they ordered me to go to the bed, there was a bed up kind of by the cockpit there. And I walked by like Robbie, and there he is. He's on the floor of the helicopter, and he's in a hard collar, and I just broke down. I was safe, and my emotions just went, and I just let go, and I just cried and cried and cried, and then we got to Fort Nelson, and luckily the ambulances were all there, and our critical care teams were there with one of our jets all ready to go, which is like the highest level of care the province provides.
Yeah.
And my manager, Rick Lukes, which I love that man, he drove up from here all the way up to the scene, kind of like as the crow flies, into Buckinghorse, thinking we might make it out. And then from there, I didn't realize we were going to Buckinghorse, and then drove all the way to Fort Nelson in the middle of the night just to see me get off the helicopter and load me into the back of our jet.
Wow.
And that's pretty like that's sort of our brotherly love kind of thing. But he did a lot of things after the fact too. But it was just, it was great. And then we were off. We were out of there all the way to
Same jet.
I
think you fell asleep.
I fell asleep, or they put me to sleep. I don't know. I remember taxiing, and that was it. And then when we got to Vancouver General, like I remember if you've ever been to Vancouver General Hospital, the ambulances line up like a dozen to 15 deep there.
Mm-hmm. Really?
And I never seen anything like it in all my life, right? Like it was mind-boggling because I didn't work in Vancouver yet.
Yeah.
And they all knew already. They knew that there was a medic somewhere in the province that had been attacked by a grizzly bear. I unloaded, and some paramedic was like, "Who's the paramedic?" or whatever kind of thing. And they got a manager, like a duty manager there to come, and again, that sort of brother. He just wheeled me into the trauma room, just like hand there, and wheeled us into the trauma room, and we were safe. Like it was. We were home free. And then I remember like we had sort of been apart, and I remember his wife came in. It's funny because we had been together in the mountains the day before. She left, and here we are meeting up in Vancouver like 24 hours later. She kind of like walks through the door, and I remember kind of looking and I remember seeing her just like crumple. She just like, because she saw him all messed up. Yeah. And then they stuck her in a bed,
Right,
and they
beside
stuck Robbie was in a bed, and then they actually wheeled us over, and we were 3 deep or whatever, just lying there in the trauma room. Wow. I for a while I had a hard time going into that trauma room. Yeah. The first time I had to leave, like it was too much for me. Like I was like, oh, did I do my thing in Vancouver, bring a person to the trauma room? And it was like, I was here. This is like,
this is where
I was a patient here. Like, So
I remember once everything settled down a tiny bit in the trauma room, they're like assessing Chris's wounds and trying to clean them. And I couldn't see him, but I could hear him like, "Don't do it like that.
Don't do it like that.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Just wash the wound out."
Yeah.
It was awesome because he was like, "What the, like, just fucking do it right."
Yeah.
And then we were separated for quite a while, right? We were separated, and he was upstairs, I think, or I was upstairs, and he went for emergency surgery, and we were in the right place. They hummed and hawed about taking us to Prince George.
Oh, thank God.
And then thankfully they just bypassed Prince George and went to VGH is a good trauma center, so went there and recognized what the care that Robbie needed to have. And for me, like, if Robbie hadn't got hurt and if Robbie hadn't had a stroke,
I wasn't that hurt.
he wasn't that hurt,
Right.
and we could maybe do something or whatever.
Wow,
Yeah.
I think we still would have got the inReach.
I was still pretty messed
You were
up.
pretty,
Yeah.
pretty
But,
messed up. Like, you were in bad shape.
But yeah, it was. I was only in hospital for I think a week or something like that. A week, kind of. And they were worried about infection, obviously, and
Yeah.
so
had open wounds
she
for
crushed
Chris.
my skull. Is what she ripped this and crushed fractured my skull, and then tore this. I had to have surgery on this arm, and they were worried, I guess, about a thing called compartment syndrome. Basically, like you swell up. In a nutshell, you kind of swell up so bad that it impairs the circulation to the extremity or wherever, and then it goes necrotic, and then they have to chop it off.
Yeah.
It's like what it is in a nutshell. So they were really worried about this because I couldn't do any of this, right? I couldn't move my hands or fingers. I had no function, and it was swelling up. So they did surgery on it, and the surgeon was like, it was hamburger. That's all it was. It was just hamburger in your arm. She
Really?
just tore. It was literally like hamburger.
And right from the top down, kind of.
Mostly just here. She just
Okay.
tore all the way across. Sort of.
I
across
visibly
here.
remember seeing that arm in her mouth, like you held her off of you with your arm,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then she was doing the shaking.
Yeah, and that's a lot of PSI /
Shredding. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then she cracked a rib there, but a lot of my stuff was just like, tears and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Besides my skull injury and stuff like that. So, but
How are you for feeling now?
this is
In,
good. I there's a couple of little things I can't do, but it's pretty minimal. And I'm not like knocking VGH or anything, but she tore most of the muscle off my scapula.
Oh, okay.
And then she severed one of the nerves with that. So I have this thing, and they call it winging. So when I do this, like right now, my scapula and my shoulder is just, it's literally sticking out kind of thing. And I can like try to bring it, I gotta very consciously bring it in kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can kind of do that, but even with heavy loads, I can't really do heavy loads because it just feels like it'll
It just
tear.
kind of disconnects.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Usually, like if you do this,
Yeah.
then your nerves fire and they tell that scapula to
Pull back,
to
yeah.
pull in kind
Yeah.
of thing. I don't have that ability. So,
Oh, okay.
so that's really the only thing besides seeing bears in my dreams once in a while.
Yeah.
And how is the PTSD? Because I mean, that's a huge event to go through.
It's like people ask, and I think like I don't know about you, but like for the first while there was definitely more dreams. But like, say this is my dream. This is my dream right now.
Yeah.
And I were to go like that, there'd be a bear sitting in the corner or something like that. It's not going to attack me. It's just there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's just there. Or it might walk across or something like that. It's just there. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
So it's not necessarily, excuse me, replaying the event. There's just a presence of a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I, like telling the story I've told the story just like Robbie like a million times.
Yep.
And that doesn't bother me. But like I said before, like when I really start, I guess, thinking about the event deeply,
Yeah.
like really playing it back and thinking about her on top of me and grabbing me and her face, and then I kind of I just shiver and shake, and I have to tell my mind to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's what the hardest thing for people who suffer from any kind of event. They get fixated on a bad event, and then it's just like this terrible cycle that just goes and goes and goes, and they have to go for help to learn to put their mind somewhere else, essentially. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And just with, I saw a psychologist for a while, and because they said I should, and I didn't think I needed to, but I did, and they said, you, because of what you do in your work and the type of work you do, you've probably already kind of learned to do that on your own.
Yep.
Put your mind somewhere
Yep.
else, and because of the things we may or may not see on a daily
Yep.
basis, right? You got to think about something positive, or just get your mind not to get fixated on something,
Yeah, for first responders as a whole, I mean, you see it with the burnout rate, with the suicide rates, things like that,
Yeah.
because they can't separate.
Compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And it's just the emergency services really as a whole are recognizing this more and more and more, and
Yeah.
and I went to a suicide the other day, and now they have in place, like, us as medics, we used to have to check to make sure someone has passed, right?
Yep.
But sometimes it's very obvious, very obvious.
Yeah.
And so now, like, instead of us being exposed to that, then unfortunately still, but one person will go in and be like, yeah, you do not have to go.
Right. You don't have to expose more people to that incident.
Yeah. Just to try and for everybody's mental health, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because there are things that I remember, and it doesn't have to necessarily. Yeah, it can be the strangest things that some calls I remember and some calls I don't, and they might be traumatic or very emotional, and they might just be I don't know. It's funny how the mind works.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah.
So your takeaways from the event, I mean...
Buy an InReach!
I actually had lunch with our Garmin rep today.
Big shout out, if I can, to Kim Lane. So she was a person that I got in contact with after the fact, and I said I knew I had to reach out to InReach,
Yeah.
And so I got into contact with her, and that's how Robbie had mentioned, I think before, how we did our big fundraiser and raised a whole bunch of money.
Yep.
And then she put me in touch with local search and rescue, and so it's this big thing. And her and I, Kim, we still talk, and she's a lovely lady, but she's just a great kind-hearted person, and always checks in, how's it going, and this and that and the other. But I said, Kim, without that, we were 15 hours into the mountains on horseback.
Yep.
What would you do? My only option I really think is I would have to leave.
Yep.
And how the hell would I leave?
Yep.
Pretty tough.
I had no
Tough call.
use of this arm. My leg was tore up. I could barely get on that stupid horse as it was, because he was a frisky little thing. Not to mention, I knew together that him and I would be able to find our way out. Mm-hmm. We'd figure out how, because it was our first time ever in where we were.
Yeah.
And but I play that over in my head a lot. How would we
proceed?
Yeah.
And
chances of survival would have been cut drastically.
Yeah, we weren't on death's door, but I don't know,
But mobility is everything.
There, you might have been.
Yeah.
Lost
for you to get back to the horses, to try and bring the horses back to him, and
Well, I couldn't move him. I know that. He's a solid guy here. And I'm a skinny guy, and he's fast. So that always plays out in my head. But those things work so well. Buying InReach, and I take it everywhere. I brought it up here. When I commuted every 4 days to Vancouver from Penticton, and no cell phone service, I packed that thing.
Yep.
They just work so well, and they're always advancing. With now they have weather and all that kind of stuff.
Now they have the full GPS topographical maps now on the new one that just came out.
Yeah.
And Ted was saying they're coming out with a Montana, which is the full screen. It's more focused on boats, nautical stuff, and then they're coming out. He just kind of listed off what they're working on, and they're trying to incorporate the InReach into basically every line of GPS that they build.
Yeah.
So
it's just incredible. I was blown away because I wanted, as I was very hopeful that I was going to get a sheep that day, which we did. But I wanted to say, oh, this is where we were, and this is where we were, to show somebody down the road when I got back, okay, we went up here, and then, oh yeah, you can see we cut across here, because so I was plotting that whole day, sending marks that whole day, and then that thing went all day, all night. The battery on that thing, I couldn't believe it. And it's constant. Once you slide that SOS and activate
it with them too.
And I left it with them just so they could
kept on using it.
Yeah. And once that SOS goes, it just goes, right? And it's sending out that signal, which is using a battery. We never had a problem with it.
Wow.
And you look at like I said before, they couldn't use the darn satellite phones, and we were pretty much a good line of sight and stuff.
Yeah.
A few trees, but nothing super heavy.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That InReach, never missed a beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had so many 4-word conversations and then poof, phone's off.
Yeah. I thought somebody has one that you can do both on now.
Maybe.
Talk and text.
Yeah. I thought that somebody had come up with one, but I don't know why.
We'll see about, yeah.
Because that would be the best, right? You
Well,
can
yeah.
text.
And personally, I don't want to talk to anybody.
No.
Text is great.
You know,
Short and
and
sweet.
the nice thing about those is we were supposed to leave that morning. Like that night I spotted those sheep, we were supposed to leave when everybody else left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nicety to say, hey, to your wife or loved ones or family or whatever, we're staying an extra day.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. You know, like,
Yeah, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer. But at least they know,
yeah.
right?
You know, and and you never think that you need it for sort of its purpose, I guess, but you know, it sure works well. Sure works well.
Yeah. Do you ever strap your gun to your pack anymore?
I have not.
No.
I have not. Yeah.
No.
Not to say that I've gone on any big extravagant
Well, you went
backpacking trips, but
you went sheep hunting.
I did. Oh yeah,
For a
I did.
couple
I went with the conservation officer that came and saved us, Micah. It was like the next year, I think. He was like, "Let's go for a couple days," and I was like, "Conservation officer, I'm in." You know. And you know what's funny about that? We went up by Muncho Lake just for more of a scouting thing, and ran out of water. It was terrible, but he is a shepherd. And it's his personal dog, but he takes it to work and stuff like that. Big shepherd, like it's the friendliest thing. But you know, he's a conservation officer, either law enforcement, big brown, you know, German shepherd. Don't mess with the dog. Don't mess with the conservation officer. He puts it in the back of his truck. Anyway, Wyatt is the dog's name. Man, does that build, like, just to have that dog there is unreal. Like, that sense of security to have that dog. And that dog, like, when we were leaving the one day, we were at the top of the mountain. And there was hikers at the very bottom of the highway, but the scent was coming up, and Micah goes, "Oh, he smells somebody." And I'm thinking, okay, you know, like, sure, maybe. Sure enough, here come two people like 45 minutes later, but that dog smelled those people coming up, like just the scent. It was incredible.
Well, you know they'd pick up on a bear long before you saw it or heard it, or
Not to say that wasn't a bit of nerve-wracking. Like, I remember we came to some shrubs one time which were like this high, and there was a lot of like pulled rocks and stuff like that, and I was like, nope, like one's going in the tube. Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Truth be told, even now, I carry my gun, and I have one in the tube. And I'm very much aware of my surroundings now. Like I was before, and I maybe I was complacent. I used to hunt bears, been around a lot of bears, so it never even crossed my mind. But you know, I'm much, even when I went for little hunts, like just look for chickens or whatever. I'm really like, I guess I'm more nervous, really.
Yeah. Well, you're more hyper aware. You're gonna listen for those signs. You're gonna do your things.
Yeah.
No, a dog though. That's when you sleep at night and your dog's hanging out there, they're always on duty. Yeah. Doesn't matter if it's a porcupine or a ground dog. Boom, they'll tell you. Yeah. And if you know your dog well.
I know my dogs well. I have two dogs. And they're wiener dogs.
They're a snack.
But you would be surprised what dash hounds do. Those two wiener dogs actually retrieve birds.
Well, they're hunting.
They're a hunting dog.
Absolutely.
The first time I met this guy, this like Norwegian guy or something, I was in Fort St. John. I love my wieners, dogs. And this guy stopped me. He's like, "Oh, dash hound," and I was like, "Yeah, dash hound. Love my dogs." He's like, "Oh," and I forget where he said, "We use dash hound for hunting badger," and I was like, "You what?" You know, like badger,
a vicious
wiener dog.
Yeah.
But sure enough, I saw lots of stuff about that they use wiener dogs for badgers. And then I met another person too, and they're like, "Oh, dachshund, you know, we use them for hunting rabbits and stuff like that."
Yeah.
But they sure, like when I take my 410 out or whatever, man, do they get excited! Like, and it's fun. Yeah, they're wiener dogs, but holy man, it's a hound. It is a hound, dachshund. Yeah. It sounds, and people laugh, but man,
you're not using them for backpacking, that's for sure.
No,
that buck brush is tricky.
Yeah. They would do their damnedest, but for sure. But yeah, dogs are, if I could take a dog, I would definitely take a dog. So.
Yeah.
We had two dogs on my sheep trip this year, and they take, like going in, they're mainly carrying their food. Mm-hmm. But then coming out, you could eat, well, we put sheep meat on the dogs. And then you could also, we used them to get water a couple times when we had to go far to get water.
Oh, wow.
And just threw water in their packs. So we had our packs and a couple on them. So we had more water up at the top.
Yeah.
Canarium with the sheep meat.
Exactly.
Run around there.
And it's funny, actually, my mind flashed back to water. And when I went with Micah to Muncho, he had never been there before, but he talked to a friend and was like, okay, you go up over here and go up over this mountain top, and there'll be a creek that's always running. It's always running. I've never been back there and it's not running. We get up there, and it was August or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I was there for my birthday, August 9th. And it was like 30 degrees up there by Muncho, like hot. And we hiked up this stupid mountain, and I took 2 liters of water with me, thinking that'll be good.
Yeah.
Micah took, I think, like, I don't know, because he had Wyatt with us. He took more. We get to the water, bone dry. Like, bone dry. And now we're like, I have some water left, but not a lot of water. And I'm thinking, like, oh my goodness, right? The dog is literally scrambling up because it's smelling the water, trying to smell the water to find it. And it was a horrible night. But that InReach, I texted it was before they did weather. Yeah. And I sent a message over to my wife, and I said, please look up the weather for Muncho Lake. And she did that. She's like, it's supposed to rain tonight. Thank goodness. We set out every single kind of like water capture thing you could imagine. We had this like one of those fold up little tarp type deals. We set that up, and sure enough, it rained. That water tasted horrible, mind you, out of that tarp. Like, it tasted like you're chewing on a piece of cellophane tape or something. Like, it was disgusting, but we were desperate.
Yeah.
We had enough water that we figured we could stay another day or whatever. We only had a couple days, but we measured it all out. Okay, for our mountain house, we need this, and we'll have this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So he wanted to stay. So the next day, we went for a hike to look for sheep. We're going along, glassing, kind of doing our thing or whatever. And we're glassing, and we stop, Mike and I, and he's glassing. He goes, oh, look. And I was like, oh, sheep, right? And I'm getting all excited again, like, oh, we found another one, right? And he's like, water. And he found like this little creek that just the ground had given way because it was all underground, right? And there was like this little piece of showing, and we went down there and filled everything again, and so we had lots of water. And I remember we got back at dark and we were doing our thing and drinking water and enjoying life, and we were measuring it all out. And he held up a clear platypus,
Yep.
And there was worms like squiggling around in there, and we were all like, oh.
Classic.
Yeah, leave it up to a CO to go to a place with no water.
Yeah.
But hunting stories, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in to share your story with us, because it's, even though I've heard the story, it's a totally different story coming from a different point of view.
Yeah.
It was absolutely awesome.
And when I listened to Robbie's, I was like, shivers up my back, like it was like, this is a crazy story. It's like, oh wait, I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the other half to all this, But, yeah.
His podcast was, what was it, top
10 or top 20 in that area in like Canada.
In Canada?
Wow.
Yeah. For downloads
awesome.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you told me Apple had emailed you or something, or
we get notifications.
You get to know.
Yeah.
But
where you are for downloads and streaming and stuff like that. So.
Hopefully it brings more viewers to your podcast.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's just great. We've had so much.
They're not here for the good looks. That's for sure.
We've had a lot of great feedback that people just want to hear real stories. They don't want to hear, oh, well, we're just pushing these brands, you should buy these. It's not about the gear. No. It's about the stories and the people and the real life events that have occurred and how people got where they are and what events led up. Like they just want to hear a real story.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things, the same takeaway that Chris has, buy the InReach. We talked about it last time.
Yep.
How cheap it is compared to everything you have if you're a sheep hunter.
Oh, think what was in the plastic bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, your optics,
10,
right?
12 grand with a couple of rifles and a couple of binoculars, right? And you're talking about...
my brother's spotting scope.
Yeah.
I was
and
ready
those
that
ones you
away.
always have to pay for, too. Yeah. You can't just not buy it.
And the other thing actually is support your local search and rescue, because...
Yeah.
It wasn't our local one that day, but it just it should have been actually. It would have been a better situation if we would have had Fort Nelson, any person who is in search and rescue, come on the first helicopter.
Yeah.
They know the area. They know what to expect.
They've been there.
They have protocols. They're trained.
Yeah.
Most of them have an affinity to the bush.
Yep. That's how they ended up in Fort Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't go up there for the nightlife.
No.
Oh, you could.
Yeah. Short nights. Same people every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are.
Those are my takeaways.
Yeah.
Carry your gun
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
And stick
again,
together.
Stack
That was
up.
the
And
other
stick
thing.
together.
The
Yeah,
crazy
Robbie, stick
thing-
together.
Yeah,
The
stop
crazy
walking
thing
so
was
fast.
that was one of the closest times during hiking that we were after we came out of the cliff band the whole day.
Yeah.
Like you could see me.
Yeah.
Like quite often I'd get like 500 or 600 yards in front, and then I'd stop so that I didn't lose him.
Yeah.
And I'd take a break.
Yeah.
And
And I'm hating my life still.
but like that was the whole way till we got to right there. Is half the time I was so far away.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt anything.
Yeah, which that's just used to tromping through the bush, right?
See, I
But,
like to, a lot of times if you're hiking or whatever, spread out a little ways.
Yeah,
If you're just because you get looking around and then you're not worried about getting whipped in the face by a willow.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
we were-
generally
we
I
were a long
travel.
ways.
I travel fairly close because when you're guiding, you can't separate like that.
I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to kind of be in. Let's say
talking distance.
because they get lost.
Yeah.
They wander off and you're like, oh, okay, where'd my hunter go?
Yeah.
yeah,
Then you got to go find them.
Yeah. It's just like, I tell people our experience was like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But in the wrong way.
Yep.
I worked with a guy, I worked at the airport, and he guided for over 30 years up the highway, sheep hunting, well, any kind of guiding. And, Leonard's, he's flabbergasted. He's like, I can't believe it. Of course, he ran into a couple bears and stuff in his 30 years, but nothing like, and here I go out for one time and, this is what happens to us.
It's a 1 in a million scenario.
Yeah.
Yep.
Winning the lottery the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well, we came out pretty good.
Yeah.
You did just fine, and you had the right guys with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was
Thank
good.
you very
You
much for
betcha.
coming in.
Yeah.
No problem.
So yeah, tune in for the next one. We'll have plenty more, and if you know anyone that has a killer story that should get in here and do a podcast, just leave a comment in the message below. Like, follow, subscribe, do all that social media stuff, and check out ballistics.ca for your custom turrets. Thanks again.
Thank you guys.